So welcome everybody to Move to Improve with Tina Fraley on Primetime for Women's new national program platform. So today we have Tina here for the fourth week. Tina, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Yeah, Tina is the owner of FitMinded Living. She has a master's in community health, a degree in psychology. She uses all of her skill sets. She has certifications in fitness and health, life coaching, and she uses all those skills to combine to help women and men actually develop the mindset that helps them have a healthier mind, a healthier attitude, and be successful in life. So thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm excited. It's more opportunity to move our mind and our body copacetically and learn new ways to feel good in our life on a daily basis.
So you had a really big, exciting weekend this past weekend. You had your first Women's Growth Summit, correct?
Yes.
And it was held at Hagerstown Community College, but you also did it virtually for those who wanted to participate that way. Tell us the goal and the outcome.
So the goal was to connect the community of women and allow them to see that we are each other's best assets, that it's truly about rising together, and that each of us walks a different story in life, but that story is meant to be shared. That experience is meant to be expounded upon. And when we take the time, that's probably the key component there, is taking the time to sit down and hold space with another woman. We are truly changing not only our own lives, but we're changing the lives of the women around us. Right. So this, like you said, was the very first Women's Growth Summit. The original idea behind it, we were supposed to have 5 series of workshops last year, and this was the culmination of it. So we were able to have 2 of the workshops last year, and what we were then able to do is spend the rest of our COVID time at home focusing on just really truly bringing this day together, finding some of the most incredible women locally to the community. And each one of them brought their story, their take on what it means to live off script. That theme had come about during a lunchtime conversation with my teammates for the program. And we just really saw that there was a lack of celebration taking place in how much women live off script on a daily basis. From the moment we open our eyes to the moment we close them, we're running through life in different ways going, I got this, I can do it, I will figure it out, it's able to be done. But we don't always celebrate all of the little pieces that come in and go, how did I pull that off? Oh my God, I got here. So that was another piece to it, is that I got here, I'm ready to live my life more. And that's what each one of the women did on Saturday, was they spoke to how can you live more in your life, more effectively, more purposefully, more on time with you, not necessarily the scripts that get handed down to us.
So those role identifications where you can't feel, you feel boxed in, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that for a couple of reasons, because, you know, Primetime for Women's mission is celebrate, connect, and empower. And I'm listening. Yep, that's exactly what you did. So tell us some of your speakers who participated, and what was for you the best point of the day.
Oh my goodness. So Kelsey Palmer kicked our day off. She's got that high vibe and energy. She has a company that is called Passion, People, and Purpose. And she focuses on helping us prioritize that, whether it's from a business standpoint or personal standpoint. She had us opening things up with a dance party and really coming into ourselves and realizing that we have that ability to beat to our own drum, but it's taking the time to step back and identify, this is what my purpose, my passion is, and I need to connect it to the people. And then we had Jordan Waters, who is the co-owner here at Soldier Fit Hagerstown. She shared a lot of her personal story, her own weight loss journey through this. She's down about 80 pounds. And it was interesting to see that the perspective she took on it wasn't just from the weight loss. It was, this is how my life changed when I decided to be a priority in my own life. She gave us a walk away thought of, we need to make a choice to take a chance in order to see change in our life. and over as she spoke. And this was her first time ever speaking in public. So it was a lot of transition and summit for herself as well. But it was beautiful. The takeaway for that, I had a lot of comments in the YouTube video channel talking about how much we could change our lives by becoming that priority. And it is a sticking point. For a lot of us, it's how do I become a priority? There's so many other intangibles that I have to take care of on a daily basis. And then we had Tony Bowie, and she was talking about unity and how at this time in our lives, beyond all of what we've been going through, is we really have a calling to be more unified as a people, as a society, but especially woman to woman. We can make that moment where you feel safe in my space and I feel safe in your space, and we can be vulnerable. She referenced a lot of Brene Brown, and she referenced a lot of just coming into contact with our emotions and allowing ourselves to go there and not having that exclusion be something that we allow in our lives.
Well, I think that that's so important, because I think it's a reminder that we are more successful when we're collaborative as opposed to when we're competitive.
Absolutely.
And I think that it is true, not just from a practical standpoint, but in our physiology, in our bodies too. Women who have strong social connections have less diabetes, less depression, reduced risk for cancer and dementia. I mean, who wouldn't want it?
Absolutely,
I
yes.
mean, really, yeah. So anybody else speak?
Yes, I got to speak as well.
Right.
I did my workshop on obstacles and opportunities, and my hope is we might be able to share some of that with the viewers. So I don't want to give all of it away, but
Of course.
really see that the moments we create in life can be the changing point of our life. We had back after lunch, because it was an all-day program, we had Julie Gaver, a life coach, facilitator, author, and she brought us back from lunch and took us on a personal journey, her own summit, and shared a lot of the stories that she's come across through her lifetime and seen just how we need to have the humility and the humor in our lives, that it's important to find that magic. And one of my favorite things that she referenced is just to allow yourself to find the fancy. She shared one of her stories about a family member who just never took out those china plates. She never had that special dinner. It was always waiting to have it happen. Don't wait, just dive in, make every moment special, and give the magic back to your life. Whitney Hahn.
One of the things that since COVID, one of the things I did was I had the time and I wasn't going anywhere. So I cooked almost every lunch, and I'm a good cook. But before I would say, nope, I got to then I have to do dishes, and then I can't move, I can't do on to the next thing. But I cooked a lot during lunchtime, and maybe I'd make myself an omelet, or I'd cook an Asian meal with a bunch of mixed vegetables. And typically I wouldn't have done that, but it was like, yeah, I had the time, and it was giving myself permission that I was worth messing up the kitchen twice in one day.
Did Matt help clean, or did you get stuck cleaning too?
Well, so when he was here, we cook and clean together, which is great. But that was the thing. When he'd be at work, he was still going to the hospital a lot of times. And I thought, and I tended to cook when he was home, but I wasn't cooking when I was here by myself. And I had to get to this point where I said to myself, no, I'm worth it. I like eating a hot meal at lunchtime. I know a lot of people would prefer to have a small meal. I like to eat a big meal, but I hadn't been giving myself permission to do that for myself. So that was a little bit of what, when Julie's talking about find your fancy, you're worth it. Yes. I had to get to the point, I can cook for myself, and it's a good thing.
Good meal. Take it, plate it, make it look beautiful, and enjoy the experience.
I take pictures and send them to my kids. They think I'm crazy, but whatever. So anyhow.
And then we had two more speakers ending the day. Whitney Hahn, she's the master message designer out at Digital Bard, and she brought humor, an improv's take on how we can truly use humor in our life. We actually do it a lot more than we think we know, because she talked about those scripted moments when you and I walk into a room, we don't ever pick up that piece of paper and go, hi, Bernadette, hi, Tina.
Right.
We just talk to each other and we have that off script and it's natural and it flows. When we start to find ourselves in a script, we've got anxiety and we've got angst and we're not living our life. So the more we can embrace those off the script moments, the more we're actually truly living.
Did she talk about scripts as maybe having a purpose as providing structure and then moving away from that? Or our scripts aren't all bad, are they?
No, they're definitely not all bad. They give us that reference and template, if you will.
Right,
Our ability to grow is coming off of that script and not
right,
having it be restricted to it. We
right.
can
Have it be a support as opposed to boundaries, right?
absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And then we got to end our day with yoga. So it was awesome. We had Alicia Carpenter is a yoga instructor out in Ocean City. And she's one of my dear friends. Every time I go out there, my first thing to do is book a session with her. But her story, I kind of have a little personal background on. So I love the fact she literally just decided after working 20 plus years in corporate America, this was not the way she wanted to continue living her life. She completely switched, moved her and her family to Ocean City and became a yoga instructor teaching yoga and the strength that the 8 limbs of yoga can actually give our lives. And she did it on and off the mat, on and off the script is how she brought that to us. Beautiful yoga flow to close out the day and just kind of find our inner zen. It was amazing.
Oh, that's great. I'm so glad it was such a huge success. And we are maybe going to get to see some of that, right?
Yes, I'm so excited about that too.
Me too. So stay tuned for more of that. But let's talk a little bit about today's presentation. So, Tina, last week you started talking about food and mood worksheet, and we did the first page of that. And today you were going to talk a little bit about that plus behavior bundling and what a goal. And I think you have a goal getter's guide. Is that?
I do. I have a goal getter's guide. And so the behavior bundling piece actually has a lot to do with our food, because that was, for me, one of the things that started to come out of that was when you don't like a food, you are just not going to be inclined to eat it. And I might have touched on that when we were going through that first sheet, but it's finding room, creating room for the stuff that feels good, which also then means stuff that looks good, tastes good, is an experience that you want to actually enjoy. You're going to show up to it more frequently, like you found for your lunch date. Finding the foods. So if our listeners, when they come in and they watch this section, if they take out a piece of paper, they can actually start to create this new health habit for themselves. What I have everyone do is just list out all of the different food categories. So if we go protein, veggies.
Should I try to pull up that document?
You don't need to.
Okay, perfect.
If we follow along, it should be pretty easy. If you just take a piece of paper and then make columns down the length of it, you're going to title it veggies, carbs, fruits, proteins, and healthy fats. So you've got that list coming across the top, and then you pick 5 foods from that group that you love. So for me, it's chicken, steak, shrimp, scallops, and eggs. That's going to be like my favorite proteins. I'll put that down on the list. And you do that all the way down the line, and now you've created your grocery list. So what you do is look then in your pantry and your refrigerator and circle which ones you don't have. That's the list that goes with you to the grocery store, because as we referenced before, the meals actually start days ahead of time before the food's even in the basket, in the bag, or in the car on the way home. So we're setting ourselves up for that success moment by being prepared before we even get to that meal.
You know what I like about that, Tina, is the idea when you go into the food store, you have a plan. So you're not wandering the aisles and getting off script in a bad way, where you're picking up stuff that isn't really going to support your nutrition, right?
Right. And that actually falls into another good point, because that's a financial asset that you can give yourself. How often do we go, I just need a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk? You go in no basket because you don't want to take in any more than you can handle. And then you wind up coming out with half of the grocery store. You've bought food you didn't intend. You've spent money you didn't intend. So now you're not just affecting your bank, you're also affecting your waistline. So
Yeah.
there's all of these little pieces that thread together as you're moving through.
And I like the idea of writing down the 5 vegetables like you like best, because if you buy them, you'll eat them. It's also wasteful to buy all these. Like, I think I'm going to try broccolini and leeks this week. Well, if you don't like broccolini and leeks, you've purchased that and it's not cheap, and then you waste it and you throw it out. Yeah. So
that brings in the behavior, because now you have guilt. You bought something you didn't use, you wasted it, now you feel guilty. So you're going to be less inclined to go and buy vegetables. You get like this whole effect of, well, vegetables are bad for me because I waste things. I feel bad about myself. I don't use them. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, never mind. I just won't buy vegetables. So it turns into this big circle of a cycle of sabotage is essentially what it turns into. So keeping that at bay actually starts by preparing, keeping that list, making that preparation for yourself. So just a grocery list alone, you've given yourself a little bit of confidence back, you've given yourself a little bit of leniency, and you've given yourself the ability to like what you're doing. If I give you a grocery list and I go, this is the only thing you can eat for the rest of this week, you're going to turn your nose up, you're going to look at the list and go, I don't like that. And then your whole week is going to be out the drain or out the bath with the baby and all that.
mm-hmm.
So allowing yourself, you had made a comment earlier when you were talking about the lunches you made, you gave yourself permission. That's what this does. So behavior bundling is giving yourself permission to do not just the healthy habit, but something else that you already are doing that's not as healthy. So maybe every time you sit down to a meal, you have the salad and something. Maybe you sit down and you have a lean protein and you have macaroni and cheese. Maybe you sit down and you have dinner and you have dessert. You're giving yourself options, but you're not saying no and taking out that restrictive type of mentality.
Yeah, I have a question for you in terms of thinking of restrictive mentality. I sometimes think that one of the things that maybe we could do on Prime Time for Women, or you could do with your clients, is recipe sharing, because I think people think, I like this, but I get tired of it because they don't know what else to do with it. And, yesterday, I was having a couple Prime Time for Women events in the evening. So I found this recipe on a crock pot, and it was just chicken thighs, a cup of chicken broth, a quarter cup of wine, leeks, and carrots, and just threw it all in there for 8 hours. And then at the end, I threw in mushrooms, asparagus, and frozen peas. And it made a chicken stew. It was called spring vegetable chicken stew. And it was so good. And I am not kidding. It took, this much time. And I have leftovers, which I'll probably have for lunch today. But I feel like I would benefit from, if people have a yummy recipe that they really like, that's, high in protein and is going to support our goals. And I know everybody has different goals, but I would love to maybe create an opportunity or opportunity to share those recipes.
I think that would be fantastic. It's another layer of community coming together. You may have recipes that I have no idea even exist.
Right.
You may be using vegetables and fruits that I didn't even know were an option to put into a dish. So it's definitely, and it opens up the door to other cultures. It keeps our food as diversified as our life. It's absolutely.
And actually, that's good for our gut health. The more diverse food you eat, the better your gut health. And so that would be good. And one of the other thing is, I think there are vegetables and produce available now that were not in the store when my mom was cooking. I didn't grow up with broccolini or leeks or I didn't eat tons of different greens like chard and I don't even know some of the weird greens I eat now. Arugula, that wasn't even a thing back then. But now we have so many options, and it's kind of fun to taste, to compare, and it gives I think it gives variety at the same time that there's structure.
Absolutely, yes. And it teaches us different ways to eat, because also actually the meal itself was different when we were younger and we had family type meals sitting at the table. We don't necessarily do that as often as we used to. Having mealtime be the experience. If you really think back over the process that would go through with a meal, you've made the meal, and that would have social skills happening. You were talking and conversating and having engagement with family, and then you're sitting down. There's another layer of socialization. The process of sitting down to a meal actually has a purpose and a priming. It gets your digestive health ready to actually take in the food. It switches on your brain chemistry. So your brain goes, oh, I'm about to eat. So you start to have the salivation glands. Like, there's science behind why we could sit down and have that meal. We've taken a lot of that out with the quick drive-through mentality. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. One of my starting points way back when, I went to Weight Watchers online, and they teach sit down and have the experience of eating. And I've carried that through every piece of nutrition and meal mapping that I've developed for myself and my clients, is have the experience again. Sit down and find posture. We spend all day long like this. Pull your shoulders back down. Stand up nice or sit up nice and tall. Make eye contact with the people around you. And if it's just you, enjoy it. Put a flower in a vase and
Tina, you froze there for a minute. Okay, but you're back.
oh, I was saying, taking that time for yourself, even if it's a meal solo.
Right.
Just allowing, put a flower in a vase, put a candle next to you, put music on, that fancy moment for yourself. We're worth it.
I do think that that's really important. And when my personal story is when that was the very first single thing that when I think I mentioned a couple times ago that my mom said I was always going to have a weight problem. The very first thing I said was, I can eat whatever I want as long as I sit down at a table. And that, I didn't know I was creating an experience. I thought I was giving myself guidelines, but I see that now. It has become that for me now. So I think that's great advice.
Excellent, excellent. So the next piece of this is just really starting, if you're going to keep track of the health habits that you're trying to create, as well as the health habits, because they're all habits of health. Whether or not they're good or bad, that's a connotation we give to it. I ask that we kind of take the bad labeling off, and we just look at it as, this is a behavior. It's either serving me or it's working against my goals. So that gives us another layer of accountability, gives us another layer of kind of relief. We don't have to be judged by it. We are our own worst critics. We can be our own best friend.
Well, it takes away some of the shame that you were talking about earlier. Yeah, that's
absolutely. So if you take that time, you've made the grocery list, you've identified all the foods that you love to eat. Now you can have a starting point. What kinds of meals do you love? Do you like Mexican cuisine? Do you like Chinese? Do you like Italian? Do you want to try something French? Having the staples, your carbs, your protein, your vegetables, fruits, and healthy fats, you can make pretty much any recipe that you can fathom or Google.
Right.
Additionally, just setting yourself up for that success. So for me personally, one of the staples in my house is lean ground beef. I make taco meat out of it. So there's like literally a 3-pound thing of that goes in. The kids can make taco salads. I can turn it into tacos. I can turn it into quesadillas. I do the same thing with chicken. I'll grill off chicken for the week, and then we chop it up and leave a set section of it aside so that it's a whole piece. But we've got chicken with a carbohydrate, chicken with a pasta, chicken with a salad, quesadillas again, tacos again. We can do stuffed chicken cordon bleu. It's already having some of those set foundational food points so that you can then just transition them as the week goes through, because then you're saving yourself time, not having to worry about, I got to be in the kitchen for an hour. I got to be in the kitchen for this long and that long. It allows you to actually create more time for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think so. But I also, and maybe this is just if you really like to cook, time in the kitchen doesn't have to be a negative. It can be, now that we're empty nesting and have been for a number of years, we spend a lot of time cooking. And, sometimes we'll have a glass of wine while we're cooking, and that translates over to the dinner table too. But I think for me, when my kids were young and we were rushing off to soccer or dance or God knows where, 5 kids going in 5 different directions, there was the sense that you were being pulled in all these different directions, and being in the kitchen was stressful for me right now. And maybe that's one of the benefits of being in my prime. I have a little time to be in my kitchen and enjoy the process. I mean, I just bought myself this crazy pan. It's like $130 frying pan, but it's crazy, but I deserved it. That's sort of what I told myself, but anyhow.
I think it's important to honor those points in our lives where we do have time for those moments that mean something to us. The ability to have that 20, 30, 40-minute time in the kitchen when my husband and I are cooking it's a time to reconnect that we didn't get when the kids were little. So absolutely, just looking at where you're at in your life and what can you bring more into it. I love to look at life of what can I add to it, not what do I have to take away? How can I carve this out to replace it with this?
That's that positive mindset you were talking about last time.
Yes, just focusing on more life, more now power. It changes our perspective, and it truly changes that mindset, not just in our homes and our kitchens, but we're able to filter that out across our entire career, the people around us, and our community. The more we're able to bring to that, I think the more we're actually living in ourselves at that time too, that powerful piece.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so we've got our grocery list, we've got our success buildup for the store and the food prep, and the enjoyment of our meals and the experience of eating changes to a more positive relationship between you and the food. So you'll have to remind me if I gave this to you or not for your audience, but it's my FitMinded Living toolbox essentially. So
we didn't get that far.
All right, so it's a daily prompt, and it's one that I've used over the years, and it literally breaks down eat, move, and believe into a 24-hour plan. So what I subscribe to is a mentality that if I'm too far in the future, then I'm not living today, and that's creating anxiety and angst and fear. If I'm too far in the past, then again, I'm not living here today. I'm worried about all of the stuff that happened that I can't change. That's where that shame cycle and that regret comes in. So it's literally dividing me and taking me out of my power. So stay in that 24-hour window and ask yourself on a daily basis, what foods can I enjoy today that will serve my mind and my body best? What ways can I move today that are going to serve my mind and my body for at least 10 minutes? What can I feed my mind today? That's the belief power. That's the empowerment piece that you're giving to you, the inspiration of self, so that you can show up as your best self and then be able to give to others the love, concern, and compassion that you want, not what's left at the end of the day.
Yeah, the thing I like about that is we can't give what we don't have. And so it's like you said, I think it was the first time you were on, you were talking about the airplane analogy. Like you have to put on your own mask so that you can then help somebody. And I think that is a good reminder every single day to take care of yourself, and so that you can care for others.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So then after you've kind of identified, this is what I'm going to do for eat today, this is what I'm going to do for move and believe, you're then coming back through and choosing specifics on how to confirm that reality for yourself that day. That 24-hour plan then has like 3 bullet points under each piece, and you're identifying my health and happiness are a priority today, and I will do these 3 things to confirm it. I believe in my choice to choose happy and healthy, and I'm going to do these 3 things to move today. I'm grateful for my life today, and these are the 3 examples to confirm it. So every day you're practicing gratitude. It's not just that Thanksgiving turkey days coming up I'm grateful for. It's every day stepping into a practice of gratitude and humility and the belief that you're here on purpose, and loving everything in your life is a choice. So
That's
breaking
good.
it up over those 24
Yeah. Is this a worksheet?
Yep. Yep, I can send that to you.
Send that to me and I'll post that. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be really lovely. And Tina, you were going to talk to us a little bit. We don't have that much time, but maybe do we have time to talk about your Goal Getter's Guide?
Yes. So in the Goals Getter's Guide, say that 5 times fast, and then
I kept saying Goal Setter's Guide. I'm going, no, it's Goal Getter's Guide. Okay, I'm with it now. Go ahead. Goal Getter.
Emphasis on the going and getting it. It's forward movement. The very first page in that guide touches back on what we first talked about, where who are you really? And it lists out the strengths that we come to life with, and it helps you identify. And some of those are, just for examples, reliable, brave, resilient, servant heart, loyal, mature. You're circling, going through and identifying the strengths that you're operating in your life with. And the cool thing is you can come through this over and over again at different points along your journey, and those strengths are going to change. If they don't, then you're not growing. So it's already visibly showing you, I've evolved or I've stayed stuck. The next piece of that, you're choosing to describe your core values. And those tend to be in line with your strength. And if they're not, it's giving you a reflective tool in a moment to go, all right, let's see where the incongruencies in my life are. Because if this is what I value, but this is how I'm showing up into my life, now I know what I can change and grow into. And then it has you, the next step, looking back over the last year. And it's left open and ambiguous in that way so that you can come back at any point in your year and step through each of these questions and answers. Did you get the goals that you set for yourself? No? Okay. What were the obstacles that you perceive stood between what you said you wanted and where you're at now? And then you're building to bridge the gap between the two. Asking what are some of the best parts of the past year? So now you're identifying where you felt your strengths were, which then comes back to that very first page. What are my core strengths? What am I showing up to in life? And so you're slowly piecing together almost like a profiling of yourself. Is what I say I want in my life actually taking place? If the answer is yes, then you move forward. If the answer is no, then you come back and reflect. I don't know if anyone will remember those Dungeons and Dragon books from when we were kids. There's like choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
But this essentially is what goal getting is. If you say you want to have a healthier kitchen, but you're buying Pop-Tarts, then you've found your incongruence.
Little disconnect, right?
Right. If you're saying you want to have a better, stronger communication with your spouse, but you're not talking or you're disconnecting from them, then again, you have that incongruency. You have your answer. We have all of those solutions inside of us. Whether we identify them, whether we take that time and dig in, put the hat on and be vulnerable, that's the difference. And this goal getting guide is just a tool to help you get through that growth and evolution, because it's not always easy. It gets messy and no one really likes that. But the more you allow yourself to go there, the more permission you give yourself to live your life, you're actually growing to a capacity that you're also giving other people, other women around you, permission to live their life. You're shining a big, bright spotlight on the path so they can walk it too.
Yeah, and I think that the focus on that too is you're shining that big light and you're shining it on you and on your path. So that becomes an inspiration for other people to shine the light on themselves and their path and recognize that we all have different paths. You know, this compulsive comparison that goes on in our culture isn't healthy. And, you know, they used to say, oh, it's not all about you. I actually have decided to switch that around and say, it is all about you first, so that then you can be about other people later.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think that shining that light on your path might not be the same path that other people need to walk, but it is an example all the more to other people to shine the light on their own journey.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. And as you go through setting these different goals for yourself, you're going to see that light shining brighter and brighter and brighter, and it's going to feel phenomenal. And any point you come along and you feel like the light kind of got dimmer, you have the ability to go, wait a minute, let me just look at this. Let me choose to dive in and see where things aren't showing up in full vision. Where can I fine tune it? Where can I show up a little more effectively in my life? And then as you move through it, you're looking at things, what's holding me back? If you've identified some of those incongruencies, you've set the goals, maybe it's your past experiences. Maybe you've got some perfectionistic personality quirks. Maybe your expectations are a little too high. Let's see where we can pull back and reflect, not pull back and stop, but pull back and reflect and identify, oh, this needs to grow a little bit. This needs connection. This needs comfort. This might need compassion.
Right.
Allowing ourselves to step into that.
Yeah, I love that. I think sometimes it is easy to set a goal so high that you're not going to be successful. So, what was that like when you're in 7th grade science and you have your first science class and you do experiments and they talk about
scientific method.
intermittent reinforcement is the strongest kind of progress, right? So the idea, don't set something up here so you never get any reinforcements. Set it lower so you get reinforcement, and then challenge yourself. Maybe you don't get it, but then you're striving for it. I just feel like, what you're saying provides a framework for everybody, regardless of where they are. It's
and regardless of the goal.
And it is personalized, right? Because you're doing the work of identifying your strengths and your core values and setting your own goals. Somebody else from the outside isn't telling you what you need to do.
Exactly. And then about halfway through that book, you're going to come across what a lot of us know as the SMART goals. It's that acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time limit. The reason that's going to be just a game-changing event, no matter what your goal, no matter where you're starting from, if you make your goals specific, you know where you're headed. You know where you're at. If you don't know where you're at, you cannot get to there because you don't know where here is.
Okay, give that SMART thing again. I had never heard that before. I'm writing that down.
Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time limit. We want it to be a measurable goal. So for example, if we have a weight loss goal, if I want to lose, in the beginning, we'll use my life there as the example. I wanted to lose over 100 pounds. I knew I needed to hit there, but you can't lose 100 pounds in a month. That's not relevant, time limited, measurable, attainable, and it's specific, but it's not going to work for any human. So now I have to pull it back. I want to lose 5 pounds. Okay, that feels a little more comfortable. That makes sense in my brain. So,
and then you get to reward yourself because you meet your goal.
Yes, those SMART goals lead to SMART rewards. I want to lose 5 pounds off of my total board in life. Well, how can I measure that? I can use my scale, but the scale doesn't make me necessarily happy. I can use my tape measure. Okay. Or I could use a pair of pants that don't fit right now. And every week I try them on and I see if I come closer with that button. Can I get the zipper up? Can my hips fit in it? So it's different ways that actually make you feel better about the option and goal that you're pursuing. Attainable. 100 pounds in a month is not attainable for anyone, not just me. 5 pounds is. That means I have a specific, measurable, and attainable option for my goal. And it's relevant because it's going to get me towards my ultimate goal. And then that time limit. All right, let me do a month. 30 days makes sense. There's a book by Brian Tracy called Eat That Frog. And Eat That Frog. And he talks about SMART goals. He talks about you can't eat a whole elephant in one bite. You have to take one bite at a time. So with my weight loss goal, that was the same mentality I applied to it. I needed to take one move, one plate, one belief at a time. So that was where the SMART goal came in. 18 months, 2 years later, I arrived at my SMART result. And I had built that confidence level all across the timeline because there was no room left to just be left with failure. It was, oh, okay, I need to switch it. It didn't work very well. Oh, I need to pivot. God forbid the word. It didn't work very well. But it allowed me to continuously show up for myself in ways that felt good.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the most structurally based pieces of information that changes everything. If you know that you can do something and it felt good doing it, you're going to do it again and again and again.
That's right. It hits those reward centers in our brain, right? Lights those parts of our brain up that feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tina, thank you. That is so much information, but you know what? It's manageable. I wrote down a couple different things today, but what I'm really going to be thinking about is SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time limited. So I hope all of our viewers also do that. But you're going to lead us in a little bit of exercise, correct?
I am. So
Okay.
I'm going to relocate us to my gym area. And then we don't need any weights in hand today. So it's just going to be us and our beautiful bodies.
Okie dokie.
And we're going to do a little bit of some time intervaled movement. So we've got Sumo Squats. Move up on deck, and you'll have to let me know if the light washes me out again or anything. All right. So we're going to start nice and tall at the top of the room. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of loosening up, I just want you to start to march in place, and we're going to open and close the arms like you're hugging, pushing the lead leg. So we're just putting motion into the legs like a nice light march, and then I'm reaching back and behind as I open and close the arms, switching the top arm out for the other, and then a nice long tall breath. Take that top, stretch all the way up, and then stretch out to your left and right. Let's twist from side to side, picking up that foot as it pivots over to the other side. And then we're going to reach in, hands at the hip, shoulders down and back. Nice deep breath. We're going to take the hands, keeping them at the hips, track the feet out to your left and right. So you're at your widest stance for a sumo squat. We're going to drop in and rise. Strong and steady movement, driving through the heels, contracting the glutes, rising you up and tall. Nice and steady. We've got 10 more seconds here, and then we're going to revisit that walkout plank. We tried that last week. If no one's done that yet, it's just a nice strong walkout plank with the hands, and then walking back up to the heels. 3, 2, 1. We're going to pull the feet underneath the hip line. You're going to squat down and then roll on out into that plank. You can add a push-up if you want it. Walk the hands right back to the heels, and we're just here for 20 seconds. Slow and controlled movement, strong back, engaged core, rolling back into the hips and the heels, rising up at the top. We've got 10 more seconds. Next movement's going to be push-ups. So if you're close to it, we're going to go ahead and stay down on the floor, drop the knees. We've got push-ups, nice and strong. Modified positioning, plank. 20 seconds here. Elbows are tracking back and behind the body. Glutes are squeezing, core is braced. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back up out of that plank position. Walk ourselves back up to the top of the room. We're going to come into neutral position. Drop and squat. Squeezing the quads and the glutes. Hands coming to the center in front for counterbalance. Just nice and easy movement. Catching your breath here, in through the nose, out through the mouth. We're going to pause and take a breather. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming up, shaking it out. Nice point for water if you need it. Remember to stay hydrated through movement like this. Next thing we're going to do are called up and over jacks. So your feet are coming in and out like a jumping jack. Your hands are reaching up and overhead. Up and through, reach and pull. 20 seconds here. Then we're going to come right back to that squat. Nice and strong. If you need to walk it out, back and forth for modification purposes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anchor in, drop and squat for 20. The next movement, we're going to keep the jumping jack with the feet, but we're going to change where our hands go. We're going to go across the front of the body. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice and tall. So the feet are going to come in and out. Your hands are going to come up and over. So we're here. There you go. Perfect. 20 seconds of movement. We're going to land in sumo squat, and we're going to walk in that sumo squat next. 10 seconds left. You can walk this out if you need to modify. Back and forth. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming back into that sumo squat. Toes are tracking out to your left and right. Dropping in. We're going to walk and do our best Groucho Marx move. Forward and then back. This is going to hit those glutes and inside thigh. Let your breath come back down in this move. Hands can come into namaste position for support.
This one's hard.
More seconds. Say again.
This one's hard.
It definitely kicks in.
Yes, definitely.
Hold, come back up to the top, shake the legs out real good. We're going to come into a child pose push-up. So we're all the way down to the ground. We're going to stack the shoulders over our wrists. We're going to push back into child pose. And then we're going to come forward and catch in the triceps. Push back, pull forward, catch. Push right back into child pose each time. Forward catch. Just before your nose hits the floor. Got 10 more seconds. Stretch and hold in the back. It's our last move this morning. Almost there. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Here's 5, 4, and 1. Just hold it back and stretch. Release the head to the floor. Take that breath. We're going to pull the hands under the shoulders. Knees under the hips in that 4-point position. Extend the left hand out, stretch away, pull it back and down. Right hand out, stretch away, pull it back and down. Send the right foot back. Stretch that calf muscle. Pull it back under the hip line. Left leg back, push out through the heel and stretch the calf. Pull the knee back under. We're going to curl the toes. Push up into that downward dog. Breathe here for a second and stretch. Then release the knees, walk the hands and the feet together, and then slowly rise back up to the top of the room. And you should feel fantastic right now.
I do. It's a good workout, a little warmer. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I love that. I feel like you're challenging our brains and helping our minds and our hearts grow, but also our bodies. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next Wednesday, 10 o'clock. Yep. And everybody, be sure to check out Tina's previous posts too, or her presentations. They're on Primetime for Women under videos. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Tina.
Thanks, Bernadette. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.